Hi guys, I am Shine from TheHPlants. Welcome to our channel. Today in this video I want to talk about pothos plant propagation in soil. Pothos plant is one of the most beautiful plant among the house plant, and usually most of plant lovers keep this plant in their house because both you can keep this plant in water and soil. And the propagation methods, actually there are two types of propagation methods. One of them is in soil, the other one is in water. In this video I want to talk about its propagation in soil, and in other video I will talk about the propagation in water. So stay with me until end of this video. The first of all, I want to talk about propagation time. You know, it's better to propagate your pothos during of warm season, actually spring and summer, because it's active growing period of pothos plants. So it's better to take stem and propagate your plant during of these two seasons. But in another hand, you can propagate your plant in cold season, but the chance of rooting of your cutting will decrease too much. So I always recommend to propagate your pothos in spring and summer. Okay. For propagation, you need a few tools, and they are not really complicated. The tools you need is pothos plant, actually mother plant, scissor for cutting, pot and soil. And if you don't have scissor, you can use knife. But always remember, you should sterilize your knife or scissors which you want to take cutting. You know, you can sterilize your scissor like this. Actually, you can use another method, but always remember, sterilize it. Guys, let's talk about cutting. The first step you should do for take cutting is finding mother plants. Your mother plants, actually I have provided one mother plant. It should be mature, and the leaves and stems of the plant should be completely fresh. Okay guys, first of all you should find the stem. This is the stem I have chosen for cutting. The length of cutting should be around 15 to 16 centimeters, and when you want to take a cutting, there should be at least 2 or 3 nuts. Actually look at these brown dots in here. You know, these are nuts. Okay guys, this is my second cutting. Actually right now I have 2 cuttings, like this. Now the point you should observe is you should have maximum amount of leaves. The stems should be 2. It shouldn't be more than that, and you should remove extra leaves. Look at this stem. I removed the bottom leaves. Always remember, top leaves should remain, and I removed the last stems like this. Okay, it's enough, it's good. It has 4 leaves actually, and now after the cutting, it's next step. In next step, the things we should do, we should put the cutting. Actually, I have 2 cutting. I should put it in an environment with indirect light for 24 hours. Always remember, this is really important if you want to increase chance of your chance of rooting. If you want to increase the rooting chance, you should put them in an environment with indirect light for 24 hours. After 24 hours, it's time to bury the stems inside the soil, and I will show you how to bury them. Inside the previous method, I showed you to take cutting. There is another method I want to show you. The work you should do is every leaves and nuts, you know, this is as you see, there is one nut, one leaf. Cut the stem from under the nut. Always one leaf and one nut should remain. You can take many cutting like this. As you see, one leaf, one nut, and I cut the stem exactly from below the leaves and nuts. And now look at my cuttings. As you see, one leaf, one nuts, one leaf, one nuts, one leaf, one nuts. And I have actually 4 cuttings, and beside that cutting, this is another method you can implement for cutting, and you should put the cuttings in direct environment for 24 hours like the previous one. Soil we use is really important. Always remember the mix of the soil you use should be perlite, cocoa-peat and peat moss, and the amount of perlite should be more than others. Actually, you see this is perlite, and amount of perlite should be more than another ingredients you use. Okay guys, after take cutting, it's better to dip end of your cuttings in cinnamon or powder hormone rooting. If you don't have powder hormone rooting, cinnamon is okay. I have cinnamon, and as you see, I want to dip them inside the cinnamon like this. Both sides of the cutting should be dipped inside the cinnamon. As you see, look at here.
It's enough. And all cutting, as you see, I dip all the cuttings in cinnamon one by one. This is really important and increase chance of rooting. You know, if you don't dip it inside the cinnamon, it doesn't have any problem, but the chance of rooting will really decrease.
Pot you use should have well drainage. Actually, look at the bottom of the pot. These are drainage. And water goes out from this hole, and the drainage should be really good, and it's really important in growth of your cutting. The next step is watering. After you fill the soil inside your pot, water the soil. Actually, moist the soil completely like this. It should be completely wet, as you see. Okay, it's enough. And after you give enough water to your soil, it's time to bury your cutting inside the soil. Now I want to bury the cutting inside that. The first thing you should do is make a hole inside the soil by your finger or your knife. Both of them is possible. And now I want to make hole by my hand. You know, the first cutting, because its length is too much and it has 4 nodes, the depths of the hole should be too deep. Actually I fucked up, sorry. Actually the depth is too deep, and now push down the cutting inside the hole. Remember, this is really important. Most of the nuts should be buried inside the soil. You know, I had 4 nuts and 3 of them is buried. Just one of them is it's on the top. I can't bury them. You know, most of the nuts are buried. After you buried your stem, gently push around the soil like this. Now your cutting is ready, guys. Okay, in the cuttings that have 1 nut like this and 1 leaf, if end of the cutting is like this, you know, it's not completely sharp. The thing you should do is just push it inside the soil. You don't need to do something strange. And after you pushed it, feel around it with the soil and push it gently. One important point, you can put this cutting, actually the cutting which has many nodes, like here, you can put it in water and you can take root from it inside the water like this. But these cuttings, it's impossible to take root from these cuttings inside the water. So this is important if you want to grow your cutting in water. After this part, you should put it in water. But if you want to take cutting in soil, after this I will tell you what should you exactly do.